Good morning.
How's it going, guys? I'm Jeremy, and today I'll tell you why van life sucks. So this video isn't to discourage anyone from doing it or that I really hate it or anything like that. It's just that I know a lot of people see these cool videos on van life and it makes it seem like it's super cool, and in some ways it is, but I'm just going to give you kind of the straight truth about some of the reality behind this kind of thing. So the easiest way to do this is just to compare your living standards today compared to how it would be if you lived in a van, right? So let's just take an example. You get home from work, you pull in your garage, you get in your house, if it's cold or hot, you can obviously change, put on your air conditioning or your heating. But then you go upstairs, grab a shower, it takes 20, 30 seconds for the water to get hot. And then afterwards, maybe you go downstairs and make dinner, right? You can use a microwave, a stove, an oven, whatever you have. You might have a deep fryer or whatever, all the kinds of different things, right? And then afterwards, you can clean up. You can put everything in the dishwasher, or you can, wash it in the sink or whatever. And then afterwards, you might hang out, watch some TV on your couch or whatever, and then head up to bed. Right? And, obviously your bed, I assume, would be pretty comfortable and big. And so this is basically, the kind of idea of most people. You either come back to an apartment or a house, right? So now let's compare this to van life. So first of all, you live in a room that's probably as big as the room you had when you were a toddler. I think some prisons probably have more room than a van. I have a minivan, so it's a little smaller. So obviously some people have bigger vans and it's bigger, but I mean, even the room I'm in now, this is definitely bigger than most vans, unless you have a big RV, and those are $100,000 or something like that. So yeah, that's the first big difference, is that your living space is going to be so small. Now, of course, while you're not in your van all day, you've got this huge forest and stuff like that. What if it's raining for 3 days, or snowing, or super windy, or really buggy? If you're going to hang out in your van a lot of that time, I mean, that's really small room. And this is another thing to think about too. You're already in a really small room, and if you're going with your boyfriend or girlfriend, that's a really small space for two people, And if like I said, if you live in an apartment or house or whatever, and you guys are bickering and have problems and fighting all the time, if you think moving into a shoebox is going to help, you can forget about that. I could imagine it's got to be really tough on the road in a small area like that. I'm sure there's other ways, you can get space, you go into towns, maybe you split up, you go to the park, or you do different things. But if you're really in, a small space with someone for a long time, I think it would be pretty tough, to be honest. I haven't done that, myself, but I'd imagine it'd be tough. So I'm obviously not in my van right now. I'm at my sister's boyfriend's place, and it's got really cold. It's about 15, 20 degrees Fahrenheit today. I was just out towards Red Rocks. I was trying to do a hiking tour, and I had to come back. It was so cold. So, but I only intended a few weeks in the van. So the next thing, right? Like I said, you get home and let's say you take a shower, right? So now you want to take a shower. Well, I think most people take about a 5-minute shower. That's 10 gallons of water. That's a lot of water. Right now I'm using a bag that's I don't know, a couple gallons, maybe 3 tops, but probably about 2 gallons. And so yeah, I mean, you can take your 5 or 10 minute showers, but that's a lot of water to heat. And you could get these big boxes that heat up things for a few $100s. But if you're going to heat up like, a big pot or something like that, that stuff takes 20, 30 minutes at least. And so, yeah, everything as far as water goes is a lot tougher. You really take for granted how much water you use. Obviously, you won't be flushing the toilet, but that's obviously a lot of gallons every day. Brushing your teeth and washing dishes and everything else, like most households are using 20, 30, 40, 50 gallons, for like one person. I don't know, a whole family would probably use like 100 or something. So yeah, water is scarce. So, the other thing is cooking. That's a lot more difficult. You're going to have to, either you cook inside, which is pretty small. I assume obviously some people do it that way. And the reason why they would do it inside is because it could be raining, right? Or snowing or whatever. So cooking inside's an option, but it's going to be small. Outside's better if the conditions are good. But you're going to need a table and a decent setup. And that's not really even the most difficult part, in my opinion. It's cleanup. Because once again, you need a lot of water and you want hot water. Like right now, if I was to go and wash dishes, like grease in sub-freezing temperatures, like grease and water don't mix anyway, especially if it's ice, especially if it's frozen. Like just because you have soap doesn't mean that that's going to get off at all. You're going to have to heat up water and wash that out. Basically what I do is I just put the pan back on where I was cooking and I just pour water in there and soap. Let that get not too hot because you don't want to burn your hands. But yeah, you got to do something like that. So yeah, everything like this is going to be more difficult. Let's say after you made dinner at home, you go watch TV or something. Like I said, you're either going to sit in your van, which is where you've been sitting all day already, if you're driving a lot, for instance, or you can sit outside. And, a lot of time people will make a fire. It takes a while to get wood. I mean, most of those places are pretty picked if they're popular places. If it's not too popular, you could probably find a decent amount. But yeah, it takes a while to get that wood and then to keep that going. And the fire is constantly changing directions, the wind. Like you can't generally just sit and relax. You obviously have to not just put wind in, but you have to keep rotating around quite a bit. You could get lucky sometimes and it might not blow on you, but a lot of the times it's going to move around quite a bit. And yeah, when it gets really cold, you got to move real close to the fire. And I've even felt my computer screen almost feels like it's melting because, it's so hot. And so you can't even get a ton of the heat. Like, your legs or the side of your body will get warm, but you can still get pretty cold in the winter if you're trying to make fires. And in the summer, it could be really nice too, but obviously there's insects all around. I don't need to explain much about that. I mean, insects are super annoying. Obviously, you could put on bug spray and everything like that, which probably isn't always great to use, like DEET or something. Or you could sit in your van. But if you're sitting in your van too, that's, the other big thing is the temperature issue. In the van, if it's too hot, you're going to want to get screens over your windows. If it's too cold, you're going to need a heater. You don't want to run your van all the time, so you're going to have to get a heater. That uses quite a lot of energy, actually. Same thing with refrigerators. So all the things you take for granted, I mean, you need a generator for big appliances like microwave would be a lot of watts, a lot of energy. Same thing with a refrigerator, and same thing with any big appliance. So things like cameras and like charging or using your computer, stuff like that's fine, but any big thing like a heater, refrigerator and stuff is going to be quite a lot of energy, so you're going to want a generator all the time running with gasoline pretty much, or one of those other big electronic ones that are, pretty expensive. Obviously too, if you're doing camping in the winter, it gets dark real early, 5:30 or so, and so you don't really stay up too late. If it's getting real cold, you might hang around a fire for a couple of hours. But, so if you go to bed too early, the problem is you're going to wake up at 4 a.m. and it's still dark, right? So, yeah, you don't want to go to bed too early, basically. But also, yeah, you don't want to sit around really cold or keep finding wood. So, you could get in your sleeping bag and, watch a movie or whatever or read. But, it could be annoying. And then you get to sleep in the middle of the night, especially if you had a few beers or you're drinking tea or coffee or whatever, and, there's a good chance you're going to have to go to the bathroom once, right? And obviously, if you're in your house, you just walk into the next room, and you go to the bathroom, and you flush, and you're done, and it's warm. Getting out of your van in sub-freezing temperatures or a rainstorm, is a little annoying. And so, yeah, you're not going to want to go outside in the freezing temperatures or the rain or wind or whatever. And so, yeah, a lot of times you go into a bottle, and they even have a thing that women could buy for them to go in the bathroom, because a lot of people don't want to get outside their van or a tent in like winter especially, or in the rain. Another thing about the weather and everything, of course, it's going to be rainy a lot of the time. And what happens when it's really rainy? It's going to be really muddy. And so it's not that easy to keep things clean when, obviously your shoes are muddy. You got to get in and out and take off your shoes and put them somewhere. So you could kind of attract quite a bit of mud if you get into like a rainy season or something like that. I try to park in some areas where it's not so muddy, but sometimes you have to park where you have to go, which brings me kind of the next point, like, you might have plans to camp or go certain areas. And I mean, like in Colorado, for instance, in the summer, it's like all these places have hundreds of people out in all these places. I mean, so you're not easily going to find campgrounds and stuff with no people everywhere. Now, maybe if you're in certain parts of the country, there's not many people, and it could be really easy. It depends what country you're in or where in the world you're at. But you can't always think that you can just park anywhere. I know like most of the places in Colorado, they probably actually don't care if you camp there overnight or whatever, but they have signs everywhere telling you you're not supposed to. I know some people don't mind like camping at a parking lot in like a Walmart or something, but I mean, like young teenage kids like go to a place like that in the middle of the night and drink and make noise, and like I couldn't imagine like a Walmart parking lot or most cities being like a good night's sleep, So yeah, in the countryside or the woods is good, but you're not always guaranteed a spot wherever you go. I was pretty lucky because I did a lot of this in October, so the peak season was done. But in the summer, a lot of these places I went to, they'd be full. So and you could go off on some other roads that aren't full, but you need 4-wheel drive. And a minivan or regular van can't go to any of these areas unless you've got high clearance and 4-wheel drive. So you're limited with some of the things there. And if you are using a big RV, something that's a lot bigger than a van, I don't know, like 30 foot or whatever, you're not going to be able to go up to a lot of places. I mean, the hairpin turns in a lot of countries or places in the mountains are real tight. So getting to a lot of places, like you can't get off the beaten track that much in the mountains if you've got like a really, really long, vehicle. Obviously going to the bathroom is a pain in the ass. Not just number 1, but number 2. You've got to, you could either go in your vehicle, which, I've done that and whatever, it's fine. But if you go outside, either dig a hole, or you could bring, like I've got this toilet seat you can use. And same thing with the showering, obviously people can see you in most areas, so you have to go either far away, or you could get one of these small rooms, these little tents you could set up, and you could go inside that for showering in the bathroom. That's probably your best option for some privacy and stuff. But, that takes some time to set up too. It's not like really difficult, but it's not like just walking, into your bathroom, so all these things are much more difficult. It takes much more time. There's not always garbage dumpsters around everywhere too. Like I had some trash for 2-3 days sometimes. In Colorado at least, you don't just see, they don't have garbages in like all these parks. You bring everything back, I guess back home, or like if you go to the towns, to the visitor center, you've got some dumpsters and stuff, but they're not everywhere, and they have signs like people don't want your trash. So try to think of like where you want to find some trash cans, because they're not everywhere. Like some states and some areas are around, some places they're not. So it could be a little bit of a pain in the ass to get rid of your trash occasionally. So I think safety in general isn't too big of a deal as far as like, I don't think like someone would come up with a gun or rob you like in your RV or your van or whatever like that. The countryside's generally safe in the woods, in general camping, that type of thing. But the inner cities, I mean, because there might be sometimes you're bored or you want to go in the city, have a few drinks, maybe go to a show or something like that. And like, man, I mean, there are, as many people know in America, especially San Francisco or even Denver where I'm at now, they'll smash windows if they see anything for $1. And so you have like a gold mine. I mean, you probably have all of your personal possessions in there. If people could break a window and get in there and take your computer, your passport, whatever, that's a fucking big win for a thief. So it's kind of dangerous. It could be dangerous in the city. And actually, to think of it, I can't say the countryside's super safe. I was watching a British couple down in Spain, and they went hiking for the day, and they came back, and it was in the countryside, the middle of nowhere. And yeah, someone broke their window or whatever, and they took all their stuff. I think luckily they had their passports on them, but so that could be a huge headache, man. If you got a lot of expensive stuff in there, which you probably will, because you're gonna have like a generator, you're gonna have all kinds of stuff that people would want. So I'm not here to discourage you. I think it's a cool idea, especially if you're going for a few weeks and just traveling around the country, wherever you're at. But I mean, to seriously invest like tens of thousands of dollars or several $1,000s to get your van set up, and you haven't ever done it before, I wouldn't recommend that. I would give the same advice for anyone, like let's say you want to hike the Appalachian Trail, like a long distance trail for several months. I would say at least go hiking for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and so you can see if you even like it or not. So go in your van for at least a 2 or 3 week trip before you buy all these extra things. See if you even like it. Because people get out to the Appalachian Trail, they buy all this gear, they get all excited, and they quit in a week because they never had even gone hiking before. So all I'm saying is that it could be a cool thing. I enjoyed it. If the weather wasn't that bad, I could hang with it. It's fine, But like, for people to really like watch these videos and like start working on vans and stuff, I'm like, you got to consider you're moving into a super, super small place. There's a lot of unforeseen weather and issues that could happen. You could get flat tires. You could get a bad season where it rains for a week. So it's not going to be perfect. I definitely encourage you. I think it's much better than paying for, even hostels and hotels are super expensive in the States. Even regular campgrounds are. I just go to the dispersed campgrounds that are free. But yeah, so just test it out first. If you've got your van, do some basic things. I just made a video on the basic things you'll need. Get your basic generator and a basic shower and, the basic things for cooking and everything. See how you like it, and then start investing money. But don't start off spending like $5,000, $10,000 and being like, oh, this is gonna be so cool, because it might not be for you. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. And if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. I have a lot of other videos on my hiking and backpacking in Colorado and my experiences in China, commercial fishing in Alaska, my time in the Army, and all kinds of other things about advice I give people and stuff like that. So have a good one and enjoy your van life. I hope it works out for you. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.